Born on December 16, 1775, Jane Austen was the seventh of 8 children born. Her family lived in Steventon, a small Hampshire town in south-central England, where her father was a minister. She was an English writer who first gave the novel its mother character through her treatment of ordinary people in everyday life. She had published 4 novels during her lifetime, which became timeless classics that had remained critical and also popular success for over 2 centuries after her death. In her early writing, Austen began to define the limits of her fictional world. In her books, there is a little connection between this upper middle class world and the straight above or below it. Austen lived the last 8 years of her life in Chatham. Her personal life continued to be limited to family and close friends, and she prides herself on being a warm and loving aunt as much as being a successful novelist. A sudden illness, possibly Edison's disease, made her stop work on the novel Sedition, and she died in 1870. After her death, during the 19th century Romantic period, Austen was often looked upon with admiration as her elevation of intelligence over feeling contradicted the Romantic temperament. Here, our lives in the 18th century, it is very different than the one you live in the 21st. There's no electricity, instead gas lamps or candles are used for light. There are no cars, so people either walk, travel by boat or train, or even use coach horses to move from place to place. Most of my England is still rural. London is as remote as another country to most. Our cities are also generally overcrowded and dirty with no sewage systems. Diseases are rife and often fatal. The average life expectancy is about just 40 years. During this period, the roles of men and women are more sharply defined than they had ever been in history. This ideology of men and women occupying separate spheres is supported by the idea that there's a natural characteristic of men and women that suit each for different roles, which I don't really think so. Women are considered physically weaker yet morally superior, best suiting them for the domestic sphere. Women have no choice but to stay pure until marriage, usually not even being allowed to speak to a man unless there is a married woman in the room. We, girls, are typically married in our early to mid 20s. After a woman is married, everything that she used to own now belongs to her husband, including her body, her rights, property, and money. I wish I lived in the 21st century.